This is the last stand of protesters on Wellington Street. They've already been pushed past Parliament Hill. We're now at Wellington and Bank. You can see protesters. There's hundreds of them here. Some protesters lined up way up high. They've climbed up the Bank of Canada Museum, that side bridge there. You can see over here we have the mounted unit as well. Police from multiple divisions. Police now asking us to step back. It looks like they're going to mobilize.
You will be arrested. Anyone found within the zone will be arrested. Exit by Bank Street South.
Hundreds of officers arrived to push back this final crowd south on Bank Street. For the first time in 23 days, the occupation on Wellington Street in Ottawa is no more.
Implore all the protesters who remain there, go home. This occupation is now over.
Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
Bye.
Couldn't have said it better myself. This is Ego and Vice, episode 83.
You've got a real attitude problem, McFly. You're a slacker.
Born and raised in South Bay, lower class punk ass, I was Northwood grade. I had it made. Spent my nights drinking with my mates. Just a short bus ride up to PA. Red River Raid. Then I hit the wall and I knew I had to bounce. They still say that 19 years ago, hell, I got the hell out. From time to time you may see me hanging around. Now I feel like a stranger in this town. Crocs and roses where I learned to.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Ego and Vice. This is episode 83, and my name is Mike. As always, I will be your host. How are you feeling? I feel pretty good. It's a different vibe in Ottawa these days because the occupation is over. The protest is over, and they're gone. Different vibe in the city. I was downtown yesterday morning for my job. I have like a VIP pass to get into the restricted area. It's just if you work down there, you can, if you have a reason to be there, you can get in. So I was down there taking some pictures, and streets are bare. It's like a ghost town in the city. Yeah, so I was taking some pictures of some piles of junk, rubble, and old signs and pallets and burnt barrels and empty beer cases. All the snow in there is kind of blackish from all the carbon and all the footprints. And I didn't see any... Yeah, I don't want to talk about that. But anyway, yeah, so bye-bye. Bye-bye then. Have a nice day. Don't come back. I'm sure the city, hopefully now, will make the proper precautions or make the proper preparations to seal off certain areas so this same thing won't happen again. That's probably a good idea. Hey, maybe you should have done that before they came. Yeah, but Wellington Street, where the Parliament buildings are, that's going to become just a giant outdoor mall now. There's never going to be another local traffic down there ever again. You remember around 9/11, where here in Ottawa they had the American Embassy, and it was just kind of free. It was just a building right in the center of the market, center of downtown. And then 9/11 happened, and over the course of that week, they put those cement barriers all around the whole thing, and it was just like, whoa, this is crazy. You couldn't get near it. But then, as the time went on, they just stayed, and they're still there. Except I think they're like fancier now. They put in some like designer concrete barriers. So I can imagine Wellington is going to get some designer concrete barriers. Well, you'd think. It's not a bad idea. Like, why do you need to drive up there anyway? I don't know. Just access. You can walk. You know, extend the lawn and It'll be nicer, I guess. I don't know. It's just a big touristy place anyway, isn't it? Who goes up there? No one who lives in Ottawa goes up there, except for people who work there. It's for tourists. It's a tourist spot. So block it off. You know, it's not like that chunk of road or that stretch of road has any real significance to get anywhere. I don't think it's really going to affect the, the way everything moves down there if you turn that big chunk of area into a sidewalk or maybe a park or like put another statue up. Maybe they should put a big statue of Justin Trudeau up. What do you think? Big one like Rocky. And people can run up the steps. Make it real lifelike, so in the wind his toupee would shift wildly from side to side. You know, I had long hair for a long time, but I'm a ski bum. That's the Prime Minister of Canada. That's a bad haircut. Get a haircut. I never thought I'd tell anyone to do that, but Justin Trudeau, get a fucking haircut. Anyway, that's enough. That's enough about that, though. That's enough about convoys and occupations. And there's like a new F word in the world. I don't want to ever hear that new F word again. Well, not for a while. Not in that context, anyway. And you could probably figure out what that F word is. And I'm going to take the time now to re-establish my love for the Canadian flag. Yes. Because for a while there, every time I saw one taped to a hockey stick burning down the Queensway, sticking out of the back of the truck, I was just like, but now I'm going to reacquaint myself with the beauty that is the Canadian flag. I'll start tomorrow. Because tonight, I'm a little tired. A little worn out. I also have an agenda. I have a schedule to keep, people. A schedule. And I'm going to get to it. I have a guest on the podcast today. Her name is Jen Traplin. You probably know her from the radio station Live 88.5 FM on your FM dial. She has her show every day, Monday to Friday, from 2 to 6. And she's been the voice of your afternoon for many a year. A real seasoned pro. A veteran of the broadcasting industry. And a cool dude. Yep. Anyway, I'm going to play a song, and then we're going to come back, and we're going to have a nice chat with Jen Traplin. This is Ego and Vice, episode 83.
Goodbye, Hawaii. We'll be back soon. Goodbye to all of those pretty girls kissing underneath the moon. Goodbye, Hawaii. We'll always be true. Goodbye, Hawaii. We'll be missing you. Where we're surfing in Penally, where the girls all get so tan, or lying on the Lahaina beach, blue Hawaiian in my hand. Well, I don't wanna go back to the mainland. I don't wanna go. I just wanna catch the first wave. Second wave. Goodbye, Hawaii. You're my number one. Goodbye to all of those pretty girls surfing underneath the sun. Goodbye, Hawaii. Will always be true. Goodbye, Hawaii. We'll be missing you. Well, I don't wanna go back to the mainland. I don't wanna
Hello.
Hey, Jen, what's going on? It's Mike.
Hey, dude. How are you?
I'm pretty good. What's going on? It's been a bit.
It has been a bit.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot has happened
Well,
since we last spoke. So it's like, where do we even start?
I know. It's like everyone in my life just disappeared for about 2 years. Like, what happened?
It does. Yeah, it does kind of feel like that. And also it doesn't feel like that. It's time. Time is a very weird thing these days where everything feels like it takes forever, but takes no time at all.
You know what's crazy when you said that too? You remember when 2020 and everyone was just like, oh God, 2020, the worst year ever and blah, blah, blah. And everyone was like super waiting for 2021. 2022 now. Like 2021 was literally, I don't know about you, but it was the fastest year of my life.
I know. It's already gone. Do you remember back when the pandemic first started and, concerts were being canceled and things were being rescheduled and they're like, don't worry, guys, fall of 2020. And then that turned into, don't worry, guys, spring of 2021.
Mm-hmm.
And if you had told us in those early days that it really wouldn't be until, at this point, who knows?
Right.
Maybe this year, maybe 2023, you would have been like, get out of here.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But here we are. It's just...
Well, who can predict that kind of stuff, right? Like, who knew? I don't think in our lifetime we've ever gone through it. But like I said, now we're kind of getting squirted out the end of it. That's kind of gross, eh? That's a bad thing to say. We're getting kind of pushed out the end of the whole thing, and we're all kind of getting back to our lives. But, did you work from home with the pandemic? Did you have to go in the office every day?
So. Basically, the way that things happened, it was like March 11th it was a Wednesday. And I remember dropping my son off at school that morning and being like, things feel weird today. I went to the gym that morning and this woman in the change room was like coughing. And it was the first time that I was like, oh my God,
yeah,
I had this like visceral reaction to this woman, but it was like it wasn't just like like it was a substantial throaty cough. And I was like,
it was wet.
No.
It was wet.
It was wet. And so I sanitize, I leave and I go to work. And then all of a sudden, this is declared a global pandemic.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, get through work that day at the station. And that night I was thinking, this kind of feels weird. We weren't sent home or anything at that point.
Sure.
It felt weird to me to like the idea of dropping my kid off at school the next day. So I took him to work with me on that Thursday and Friday thinking, you know what, if this is like some sort of weird zombie apocalypse, I don't want to have to worry about like my kids over at school. So he's sticking with me.
No, that makes sense. Yeah, it's like peace of mind.
And then, and so it was that Friday, so March 13th, that my boss was basically like, you know what, take all the stuff with you home for the weekend. You're going from home is how we say it. You're working from home basically.
Yeah.
And I went home for what I thought was going to be 3 weeks, and I ended up not going back until September.
Oh, wow.
So
yeah.
it was, months, the entire sort of spring and summer at home, and then finally back to work. And then I've sort of bounced back and forth ever since. Anytime there was a school shutdown, basically I would have to come back home. When Omicron kicked up, we were back home. So we all still have all of our setups, like all of the announcers all still have all of our on-air setups at home just in case.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to ask is like, how did they have to come in and like get you all set up? Like,
pretty much but nobody was even coming in. It was literally our engineer would just drop equipment off on front steps because we were doing everything sort of contactless. In the beginning, everyone was like a heightened paranoia about things. And so it was like, we'll drop it off on the front step and then sanitize it when it gets in and then set it up. So, there was a lot of like logistical just running around in the beginning to get everybody all set up. And now it's like we've got it all streamlined and it's minimal equipment and we're good to go.
So you have like, with all this stuff at home, you actually have like, I have my little setup here, but I can only talk to like my friends. But you're like tapped in, like you're the radio at home. Like can you just turn the thing on and just be on the radio? No.
Yes, I could.
That's amazing.
I could at any point.
I couldn't handle that power.
What makes this which is what makes me been so embarrassed because I'm like sitting here in this chair just talking to you. I could have had a microphone too. I could have looked more professional like you, but here I am.
Well, it's an audio podcast, so no one will know. I'll just pretend you have a mic. That's a nice mic.
There you go.
Yeah,
Does it sound like mic quality at least?
It's always going to sound like a bit of a phoner.
Yeah.
But it sounds way better than a phone call, I find. Like if you're actually over the internet and not over like the phone lines. So
that's true.
Well, that's good.
True.
That's good that you didn't have to. Or maybe it was good. Did you like working from home?
I didn't. Like it's way easier logistically. The studio is set up for that kind of thing. I don't have to think about things. Everything is, sound dampened. I don't want to say soundproof, but it just, the flow is better. It feels more natural. And then at home, you're always worried. Like you probably just heard a couple minutes ago, this cat, it's like the second the door is closed, the second she hears this voice behind the door, she's got a meow. And so without fail, every day, my 3:00 news, wow, wow, wow,
oh, yeah.
in the background.
Oh, that's nice.
And you're talking about, it's like I'm giving the COVID update. Yeah. This cat's just in the background wailing away.
Did you ever see that?
So it had moments.
Did you ever see that video? Speaking of that, it was like that guy giving the
lawyer.
Yeah, and his kid came walking in behind him. And the nanny grabbed the kid and whipped him out. That was a great thing. That's like you and your cat.
Oh yeah, but there was moments like that too, because then my kid is at home also, right? Homeschooling. But in the first year, so he would have been grade 1 when the pandemic started, and there was really minimal stuff sent home from school at that point. There was lots of homework, but there was minimal, I guess, involvement with the school. So they weren't doing a lot of. And I don't, think his teacher was doing a bad job or anything. It's just everyone was trying to figure things out. And so there wasn't regular Google Meets or classes or anything like that. It was just a stack of homework every week. So he was a 6-year-old kid and would just be bored. And he liked, having his parents home. And so he would want to come in and hang out. Sometimes he'd be playing video games. My radio setup is in the guest room, and so my son would be on the guest room bed, just playing video games next to me. And but eventually, you get into a rhythm where the kid's not running in and interrupting every meeting or newscast or whatever, and they kind of adapted kids in the same way that we have. When it comes to masking and stuff too, man, these guys are super into it. He'll put on his mask to go to school, just so it doesn't inconvenience him, when he gets to school. Gotcha. So he wears it all the way to school and into the parking lot. And so super, super adaptable.
Well, that's
I
good.
find.
Yeah. Well, I think we've all basically adapted. Well, some of us have. The best of us have, I think.
Yeah.
Were you when you were in your home studio, on the radio, when you take calls and stuff like that, could you do that at home as well?
No. So it's possible, but when we were first kind of sent home, we were working with just a hodgepodge of gear that we had, because we didn't have necessarily all this gear laying around in order to be able to do that. And then when we ordered everything was on back order, and what it was like in those first 6 to 8 months of the pandemic, it was impossible to get anything if it was sold out. So it just didn't really come together, and then we just kind of got used to not doing it. But now, 2 years later, and much more, learning as we go, we've figured it out, so we could. So Noah does his evening show, he does his weekend show, and he's at home, and he goes live, and he takes phone calls, he records phone calls. It basically is the same thing, the same setup that he has at home right now, compared to what he has in the studio. And in fact, it's sometimes even easier for him
that's good.
To do that. So the neat thing about all of this is I think it's going to change the way our industry works going forward, because I just think that we've learned how to adapt to doing all these situations. In the before times, if I was on location, if we had to do, what we call a remote, where you're live at whatever cell phone store doing a remote, cut-in, we would have a person back at the studio, and they would be operating the soundboard. But now it's I can do all of that right there. I can upload my cut-ins, I can be live, I can run the radio station right from basically my phone.
Amazing.
So
technology,
it's pretty
crazy.
nuts.
Yeah,
it's pretty nuts. And honestly, sometimes it takes things like this to kind of force your hand in that, because especially with radio, it's such an old school business, and this has really kind of brought it modernized a lot of the elements of it, which is, I guess, a kind of a cool thing that's come out of this whole
of
god
course.
awful mess.
For sure. And just going off what you're saying, how you have everything pretty much set up at home and the convenience of being at home. Was it hard to go back to the office and get back into a semi grind kind of what you were doing, or?
Yeah, just a little bit, and not because it's like, work, it's just the process of putting on pants,
right?
And
that's
like
what I was referring to.
Doing your makeup, and and not having the kitchen at my disposal to just like make lunch. It's like, oh god, now okay, I gotta like put some thought into. I gotta make my lunch. I have to maybe look a little bit reasonable, like I'm leaving the house today, and I have respect for myself.
Pants.
So just things like that. But honestly, pants, because I think we all got into like a major sweatpant phase.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I'm still here for it. But so I literally just change out of the sweatpants. I literally just change out of the sweatpants if I have to go to work. So for a couple of hours a day.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. You had the option to do that, and it kind of worked out for you. And you could continue to be on the radio, so that wasn't disrupted. Because, you bring a lot of entertainment. The radio does to a lot of people. Well, it's true, and everyone was stuck, so it's good. You do a good deed, and you can do it from the comfort of your own home. That's amazing. I can't work from home because I'm a grunt. So I like work. I worked right through everything. Yeah. I didn't take any time off. Well, we couldn't, you know what I mean? Like I'm not a frontline worker, and I'm not like a first responder, but I guess I was essential working.
And were you scared those first, because remember, things were different back then. The way that we thought about this was different. And I remember being scared for people that had to go to work, just knowing that you maybe felt like you didn't have a choice.
Well, you didn't, because I'm a contractor, so if I don't work, I don't get paid, right? It was kind of scary at first because there was a lot of unknowns, and but with that too, you're kind of ignorant. So what was scarier than like the actual threat of like getting sick was the threat of like making no money. Like I can't pay rent, so. You kind of put it aside, and you just say, it can't be that bad, maybe whatever. And you just go to work, and thankfully, knock on wood, through the course of like the brunt of the 2 years, I was in a lot of homes, and I made contact with a lot of people, but I didn't get sick during that period anyway. But that's a different story. And
were you ever like? Was there ever like a concern, or were you always okay? Because I know that I've heard a lot of stories as well about people being confronted, or people, running into people that have different beliefs than them and having to deal with anything that kind of comes out of that. Did you encounter any of that?
Yes, absolutely. We weren't, some people didn't even want us in their homes, right? Just to clear it up, on the podcast, they know that I don't work for Rogers anymore. I used to, but with Rogers, I was a technician where I'd actually go in and set up people's like security system and stuff. So it was like a job that was very hands-on. And at the beginning, we weren't allowed to go in the houses. We had to do everything from like the curb over the phone. Like you go you go up to like an elderly person who just learned how to use their email, and you're trying to talk to them over the phone on how to like set their equipment up and stuff like that. It's crazy. So, and then when it started loosening up, when they started letting us back in the house, there were a lot of people that wouldn't let us in. They didn't want us to come in at all, right? I didn't run into many people that were just like, no, like everybody was very cautious, I found at the beginning. Not like today where it's just like with the anti-mask and all that stuff. I don't know. It went pretty good. Like it was pretty smooth, I guess, as best as it could be. But we were all learning as we went, right? Adapting as we went. That's what you had to do. So. Yeah,
and it's nuts now to think, 2 years into it, how much different how different people's opinions are of it, or it's.
Yeah.
I guess this is what they call like learning to live with it. I guess.
Learn to live with it. Well,
I guess we've heard that a lot.
Well,
But I just feel like the paranoia and the fear isn't necessarily there like it was in the beginning. I'm not sure about every other sort of range of emotions, but
yeah.
I remember my dad saying that his neighbor pet his dog and he wiped his dog down with Lysol wipes. And I was like, what? So we're not at that point anymore,
In the early days of it, I would when I would go grocery shopping, I had Lysol wipes and I was wiping down my groceries.
Yeah.
But you don't know, right? You just learn and you evolve,
exactly.
and you evolve, and I think you get educated, and you just we have been hammered so much with information.
Yeah.
You just have to kind of decipher it and listen to who you want to listen to, and then make your own decision. Especially now that everything's lifting, within the next 2 weeks to a month, you know what I mean? No restrictions, no mandates and stuff like that. So it's just going to be, when you said living with COVID, you're just going to have to use your discretion. If you want to wear a mask, still wear a mask. If you don't feel good about going to that club with 200 sweaty people smashed into each other, then don't go,
Yeah. And I think that it's going to be important to recognize that everybody is going to be at different levels of comfort as well. And so we have to accept that there are going to be some people who, as soon as things are opened back up, they're going to be right back out there. And then there's going to be others that are like, nope, I'm still masking. I'm still not going anywhere. So it's, I mean, who knows how long that phase is going to last. It's been kind of a traumatic couple of years, whether people are, whether we recognize it or not as trauma. It's been kind of nuts. So,
well, did you hear
it's going to be weird to get out of it.
Yeah, did you hear that thing? I can't remember what it was called. It was called cave syndrome or something, where even though restrictions were lifted and people were allowed to leave, it was it's a mental health issue where they got almost agoraphobic, where they don't want to leave the home, transitioning back into everyday things is overwhelming, because they were locked down for so long. I there was a thing on it, I don't know, that was probably about 6 months ago, but I read a couple of things on it, and that would suck too, or it just it traumatizes you so you can't get back to normal, or you just all of a sudden have these new issues, I don't know. But yeah, I'm sure it's affected people and everything in so many different ways, and stuff you don't even think about, I guess.
I know, and it really feels strange to be in the times we're in now, because the news these days has been much different than it was, this time 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago, where things are opening back up. It's kind of, we're venturing into even more unfamiliar territory,
I'd say. But I guess life goes on. Do you have any? I guess it's fresh, but if you could, where would you go for on a vacation? Where do you want to go? What do you want to do? Run across the beach and be like, I'm back.
Well, I know that my youthful appearance, this is going to be shocking, but I turned 40 last summer.
Congratulations.
And I thank you. I
welcome to the
had this
club.
idea that I'd like. Thanks. You know what? It's good to be here. I don't mind this. But I did have an idea that I wanted to go on a nice big trip, and I didn't really care where, but an island or somewhere with a lot of wine or something. So that didn't happen. So I think I'd like to still do that. I envisioned something tropical, but also I kind of just really want to go to New York City or something like
road
that.
Trip.
The last trip that I was on before this happened, we went to New York City for New Year's. For 2020.
Amazing.
And then a few weeks later, all of this. So it just kind of feels like a little cathartic, I guess, to go back as well.
Yeah, for sure. It'd be like a bookend, right? It started there, landed there. Yeah. My sister lives in New York, and I used to go and visit her, and I haven't seen her in almost 3 years now. And I think that's going to be my first venture. Once the borders are good and stuff like that, and everything's lifted, I'm going to take a week and just drive up. She lives in Brooklyn, and it's just her and her daughter, and I don't take up that much room. I'm not that big, so I'll sleep on the lazy boy in the corner. I don't care. But
I don't know. I think New York, the places are pretty small, so even though you still.
Yeah, no, I've been there before. I fit. I've sized it up.
Okay.
But no, for sure, I miss I miss just like like little things, and I'm super looking forward to it. I think that's what I'm going to do too. Is like I used to just go like over the border into like Syracuse or to Rochester or something like that, or even just to Toronto and see like bands and that. And I haven't seen any live music in so long, and that's one thing I'm really, really excited for.
You haven't seen anything at all? Because there's been like pockets of opportunities, I guess, along the way. Nothing.
No, I did.
Okay.
I actually put on a show, like a little acoustic gig with me and a couple of friends where we actually played, but it was just acoustic stuff, right? But
Right.
I didn't venture off anywhere to try and see anything, So it's coming though. I don't know. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I'm picky and I'm kind of old and cynical and grumpy, so I only like certain things now. So just because there's music playing doesn't mean I'm just gonna jump on it. It's like
and especially like if you haven't seen any live music in 2 years, if you got invited to like a show you weren't super excited about, you're like, my first concert back was
it's gonna ruin it. So I'm gonna wait till it's like the big shebang, right? The big all right. Anyway.
Rage Against the Machine this summer.
Yeah, there you go. I'll do
that would be a good one. That would be a good one.
What do you think? You think there's going to be like Ottawa Race Weekend and Blues Fest and Hope and all that stuff? Is it? Do you think this is the year or what?
It's the talk is certainly leaning that way.
Mm-hmm.
Like I just mentioned, Rage Against the Machine, like they're booked to play at Blues Fest this year, although it was supposed to be like that a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
I'm feeling a lot more optimistic about the summer events this year. The only thing that's in the back of my mind is, as you know, a lot of these things, the planning for it starts like back in the fall. And so if back in the fall, these guys weren't feeling confident that it would be, we'd be opening back up, maybe they're behind in the planning or whatnot. But I don't know. I feel like we're in a better position this year for things to happen through the spring and summer. I don't know. What are you thinking?
I think they should happen, honestly, at this point, because I think if, say, like, how the Ottawa Race Weekend's a big outdoor event, like, and like thousands and thousands of people go there. If we can pull that off, like an event like that, safely, and then come a couple weeks later, there's no aftermath, there's no blowback, there's no backlash of it. It just turned out to be like a good event. I think that's a good starting point to push it on forward with things like Hope and Blues Fest, with where the promoters in the city will feel confident to have those things. But I think we need to get a big one out of the way. We need a Super Bowl.
That's good timing too.
Yeah,
a Super Bowl.
Yeah, well, you know what I mean. Just a big event and it's outdoors, so it's great. Yeah. All these events are outdoors, and I don't think the outdoor stuff should be canceled anymore. I think if Rage Against the Machine is booked for Blues Fest, God damn it, I'm buying a ticket and I expect to see them. Well.
Oh yeah.
It's not too much to ask, I guess.
No, and you know what? Even just saying it is like manifesting it right there, So maybe if we all got tickets, then we're just manifesting. Although,
well,
I guess anything can happen. But I think I like where you're going with Ottawa Race Weekend, because it's in May. It's kind of like the kickoff to the warmer weather stuff that we've got going on in Ottawa, and it would be a good indicator of like, yep, we could do this, or we can't.
It'll be a telltale sign of how our summer goes. If Race Weekend goes on and it goes off without a hitch, I think that's a great foreshadowing of how things are going to pan out. And I got my fingers crossed. I really do, because I think everybody needs it. And as long as everyone still uses common sense and still just because things are opened and stuff like that, still be cautious. You know what I mean? Still use your common sense and be careful and be smart, and I think we're going to be all right. And that's exciting.
It's starting to feel that way, if we're following the science, as they say, and we've got people like Teresa Tam that's out there saying that, we're starting to look better. It gives me a little bit of hope.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Yeah, so we don't have to go too long. I just wanted to touch base and see how you were doing and ask you questions about the radio, because I'm interested in broadcasting, obviously, to a certain extent. But yeah, you just kept going, rain or shine. You're like the mailman, I guess. And I'm happy to hear that things are going well and everything seems to be.
Yeah, it was nice to catch up with you. I feel like it's been too long, Avi. But everything
been
feels
too
like that,
long.
I guess, coming out of COVID especially. It's just like, oh my God, like, has this much time passed? Or,
Yeah, yeah, I guess so. It's nice to see people again and just
is.
touch base and have a conversation. And the podcast for me is a way to actually reach out to people and have these kind of conversations where you wouldn't normally. Now there's like a reason to reach out, so it's cool.
Oh, that's nice.
And
And
we're like
maybe next time,
Yeah,
super old pals, because we both discussed we're in our 40s. But yeah,
yeah. No, I said we're like old friends. We've been on cruises together
yeah,
in groups,
I
of
know.
course. Yeah. So
Yeah, we've had some times, and I think that the next time we do this, it should be like in person
yeah,
with a fancy coffee or something like that.
that sounds perfect. That sounds perfect.
Yeah.
I quit drinking.
You did.
Yeah, so the coffee sounds pretty good.
Okay, great. Well, I love coffee. I love Coke Zero. So
Cool.
whatever you want to get together and have a sip of. When did you quit drinking?
51 days ago.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah. I
So how's it going?
good. I've quit before. This is the longest
Yeah.
though. Yeah, it was
Is
just
it?
a lot. It was a lot of the sitting at home pandemic, fucking crushing too many
Yeah.
Coors Lights. Yeah. I figure if I tell more people about it, I'll be accountable for it. So
That's what they say. I have no,
yeah.
that's
So
certainly what I've read. Well, good for you. Congratulations.
thank you. I appreciate that. All right, Jen. Thank you so much for your time. It
Thank
was
you.
really nice catching up and talking to you. I'm really happy that you were home when I called out of the blue spontaneously. Wink, wink.
I know. Let's be honest, I have nothing else going on. Okay.
Yeah, neither do I.
So-
This is what I do.
I'll always answer,
This isn't even a real podcast. I'm just making it up so I could talk to my friends. Thank you for your time, and I'll keep in touch, and maybe we'll grab that coffee sometime.
Yeah, that sounds great.
But anyway, keep up the good work, and we'll listen to you on the radio. That's where we can find you.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure, Jen. Thanks a lot. I'll talk to you soon.
Have a great night. Bye.
Had to sell my soul to the devil just to get level, but he wasn't listening, and I'm not one to grovel with the rest. Just the best, just don't press too hard or push too far. I have the knack to fuck off, just get the runoff, disappear in the fog, never seen again until I want you to say nice to see you, like normal people do. Now that we've been introduced, howdy do, howdy do. 1, 2, 3, take another fucking knee. Broke down, beat down economy, greed. Capital city is swallowing free. It'll start with your head and end with your feet. How far you gonna get when your legs don't work? When you look like a jerk, dragging yourself by your hips, bloody teeth and lips, fingers all broken at the joints. All you got left is a crooked point at the system that smoked out your sister. Don't care if you miss her, probably think I kissed her. Comply and obey. No power, no money, no say. 3, 4, 5, and you're dying inside. Your bank balance smaller than the gas price high. Car still stuck in the drive. No name, yellow brand, dollar store, water wings, dumpster dive. Keeps you alive. One man's junk is another man's motherfucking pride. That's right. And everyone's innocent in here until that thumb pushes down and you're filled with the sound of your last dime hitting the floor. Sorry, son, you don't get no more. You spend it all. And you're not invited to the party here in the capital city. Let's go back to the start. Snotty-nosed kid with his head in the stars. Too young for the bars. Standing on the side of the liquor store cars. No stress, no grease, no job. Way back then was so easy, so free. Get drunk, get laid, sleep till 3. Woke up one day, lost at sea. Water's coming in, son, water's coming in. So you pray and you pray and you pray. And you break and you break and you break. But they take and they take and they take. And they take and they take and they take. 1 step forward, 10 steps back. I'll trade you 2 strokes for a heart attack or a backbone crack. Can't carry the weight of my everyday, piling on the bricks and the rocks that make you sway in and out of the yellow line. So you get a fine for an impaired mind that was busy trying to strive and trying to leave behind this mess. Fuck this stress, fuck this test, no address. All that's left is a memory of a better time, maybe in my mind before this divide, when we used to try to at least get along. If I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. Am I wrong? Sorry son, you just don't belong. You're too small, and you're not invited to the party here in the capital city. So yeah, I guess that's enough. That's enough for an episode. Cool. I'd like to thank Jen Traplin for being my guest on the show today. It was great catching up with her, and like I said, you can listen to her every weekday at between 2 and 6 on Live 88.5. Yeah, so definitely check that out. 88.5 FM. You can reach me at egoandvice@gmail.com. Feel free to write me and just say hi. You can listen to the podcast on Spotify, Podomatic, Deezer, iTunes, Google Podcasts, wherever you listen to your favorite stuff. And I'm there, and I'll be there for a while. Forever. Okay, anyway, that's it for this. I'll see you next week. My name's Mike. This has been Ego and Vice. Have a good week.
You've got a real attitude problem, McFly. You're a slacker.
Wanna